Welcome, everybody, to our weekly team call. My name is Joshua Dunsky and Lisa Dunsky. And wow, hey guys, Liza, Jason. What an incredible weekend. We had a great weekend. First off, let's chat. Does anybody have any what do we call them? Not takeaways. Celebrations. Anybody want to celebrate anybody or anything this week that took place? You can just unmute yourselves if you want to chat. Hey, Katya.
Awesome. Hey, guys.
Hey.
I have one of my young team members. Some of you know her, Jessica Garcia. She participated in our very first fitness competition on Saturday, and she absolutely rocked the stage, looked awesome, super dedicated. She's 22, I believe, and just really poured her heart into it the last few months. And I'm going to ask you if I can share some pictures in Rock Your Life and celebrate her there.
Nice.
She's still partying, but so that was awesome to see that commitment in a young person and sticking to her workout routine and her nutrition.
Well deserved. Yeah. All right.
We'll send her some chispas.
Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else have any celebrations or wins? Any good news in our lives that we want to share?
I want to celebrate Monique.
Oh, you stole my thunder.
Oh, do it.
No, we'll let anybody else go first. Anybody else? All right. So, Monique, you putting your finger up? So, we had 2 Super Saturdays this weekend, right? One out in California. Where was that one?
In Temecula.
In Temecula.
Might have been last weekend.
There's another one in New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
Temecula was a business building boot camp. It was not a Super Saturday, but it was run by a combination of leaders from different teams. It was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. And we're going to have Katya, Aaron, and Morgan share with us about that weekend, about or this past weekend, that meeting. And I want to, or Lisa and I want to celebrate wonderful Monique for not only being a part of hosting Super Saturday, but literally hosting Super Saturday and doing everything from soup to nuts. Monique, how long have you been with us in the company?
Going on 5 months.
5 months. So we met Monique 5 months ago over Facebook and from her joining the team. And I'll tell you, for 5 months, she's dove in with both feet, both hands, everything. She's all in. And this girl is, for those of you that don't know her, dedicated to creating something special for her and her family. And I'll tell you, she doesn't pull any punches, and she hasn't done it half-assed, so to speak. She's done this full on. And this weekend, I was just so impressed. I was so impressed with everything that you did. For those of you that don't know what it takes to put together a Super Saturday, there's a lot of work involved. Jojo has done many of those. Lisa and I have done many of them. Some of you have done many of them, and you know the work that goes into this. So, Monique, incredible job is an understatement. Unreal. So hats off to you. Unreal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. The turnout was incredible. The presenters, I learned so much from being there. Everybody who shared their story up on stage, to everybody that just made it so special. It was incredible. So, and that's mainly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the 2 main events that for this meeting. I also want to, well, you know what? I'll wait until we do some of the questions that arose.
Can I just add to that? I want to especially point out that Monique was really faced with a lot of adversity here because Josh and I had every intention to be very involved in the Super Saturday planning and all of the processes, and every corner we turned, we got pulled away, and Monique just stepped up and took the reins, and even though she didn't know what the heck to do, she just did it, and she pulled this off like it was our event, and that was a really huge deal for us. I mean, it was such a blessing because we just didn't have the capacity, and we were just not horrified. We felt horrible that we didn't have the capacity, but Monique stepped up in a way that was just like a true leader, and she just figured it out. She didn't, hound people for questions. She just went out and figured it out. She asked here, asked there, and got it done, and she did it really well. And that is a true leader. And on top of that, promoted, and made sure she got that room filled. And that was a really, really awesome accomplishment, Monique. I don't think you realize how awesome that is. It really is awesome.
Big deal.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to just start off with this?
Let's go to the Temecula event first, because I want to hear about that, and we'll I think this will help with that too.
Awesome. So Katya, I'm going to turn things over to you, and you can bring Aaron and Morgan on board, and however you want to share with us your weekend and what took place, and to enlighten us all and teach us.
Absolutely, I'd love to. So that was announced a few weeks ago, and it was called a business building boot camp. It was in Temecula, and the presenters were Eden Slobin and Laura Stevens, Zach Slobin, ZJ Siddons and Tara Romano, Michelle and Bobby Schaefer. They're the ones who put it all together and also had a training segment. And then David and Angelique Nori. So, I mean, we had awesome leaders and trainers that poured their heart out. It was $25, you guys, to go to this event. The value was just amazing. So I reached out to some of my team members, and I had 3 of them jump on board with me, and we carpooled down bright and early Saturday morning, spent the day at the training, and then tagged on the night in Oceanside and did some team bonding and beach walking and coffee drinking and wine drinking. So that was all good. Well, And so I know we don't have a whole lot of time to share, so each of us will just pick one of the many, many takeaways we had. One of them that CG and Tara Romano talked about was we're all about creating relationships and connecting with people, especially they focus on social media. But they said, here's what you need to understand. At one point, you need to ask the question. It is not fair, they put it, to drag someone along for like a year on Facebook and, commenting and being all cute and liking stuff. But at one point, you guys, she said, we're building a business. You need to ask the question if they're open to taking a look at what we have to offer. So by dragging someone along and not asking the question, we're doing them a disservice because we're not giving them the opportunity to say yes to something that might just change their life. So that was a big eye-opener for me, because I know we've had a lot of teachings about coaching, about build the relationship, get to know them, but then really you need to take it to the next step and ask that question. It's like, so that's one of the group of people that we just have to ask the question. I got to know you a little bit better now. I'm not quite sure you know what I do, but I would love to share. Would you be open to taking a look at it? And then the other group of people she said that we should be doing this with is everyone that we are paying on a regular basis. So your insurance agent, your pool cleaner, your landscaper, everyone that you go to and you pay them for their service on a regular basis, they owe us that to at least take a look at what we have. So we should never feel like we're not in a position to ask. If we are paying them for their service, they owe us to at least take a look at what we have too. So they were just like really like in your face, this is what it is. It's all good about having a lot of friends on social media, but if you're not using it to actually ask them if they are interested or open, or if they know someone, then you're just dragging them along and it doesn't do you any good at the end. There's so much, you guys, I could talk like an hour about this meeting, but there was a ton of information, ton of really good things, lots of good exercises they had us go through, reaching out on our phone on the spot to people, making some phone calls, sending some text messages. So they really put us into action right on the spot. Okay, so I know that Morgan had some really cool stuff too. Morgan, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself? I saw you on here. There you are.
I'm unmuted. Hi. So one of the things I took away, again, one of the many things, I really like that they said make getting to executive a priority. Like, that's not an option. Executive and beyond. And so I really like that they said, like, set goals, like, it's non-negotiable, like, just go for it kind of thing, as opposed to, like, sitting around and, like, taking your time and, like, oh yeah, I'll do that later, like, just go, like, don't stop. And that's what I really liked, was they were very, like, set your goals and follow through. Don't sit there and, like, set them and then, like, a New Year's resolution, how it falls through within, like, a couple weeks, like, do it. And so I really enjoyed that it was, like, they said, like, they gave the benefits of being, like, an executive. And so all the things, like, sometimes when you're not that high up, you don't realize all the opportunity up there too. And so they talked about, like, the pools and the 10% match and the events and stuff, like going the top achievers, that kind of stuff, going to Maui, like some things, like, you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's, like, for the top people kind of thing, but you don't realize, like Laura Stevens and Eden, they did it in, like, 3 months. Like, that's incredible. They just went for it. And that's what I took away. Like, it was super incredible just to see, like I've been doing it for a year, but I've been, like, you know, like, roller coaster, like, oh yeah, here's a couple people, hi. And then you, like, slow down again. And I don't want to do that anymore. Like, seeing their persistence and how they just did it and went for it, I really enjoyed that. So that really opened my eyes.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. Hey, Erin, are you here? Are you on the call?
Oh, I see her.
I thought I saw her with her puppy there somewhere. Erin, can you unmute yourself on your phone?
Am I unmuted now?
Now we can hear you. There you go. Okay, Erin, you got 2 minutes. Share your most important takeaway.
Was time. Like, I thought, like, I don't have time to do this. I'm in school full time. I'm in work full time. And they just laid it out there, like, you have time, 20 minutes. Like, during that event, I connected with 13 people. You know, I'm meeting up with them now, the ones that I made connections with. And that was just one afternoon. So you do have time, 20 minutes a day. That's not a lot. And it kind of just opened my eyes when it broke it down like that. That's about it.
That's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, very much. Great tidbits, and it's all about bringing these tidbits back for the entire team, and that's really what these calls are about, siphoning this information that we're getting on a weekly basis and getting it out there. I think we're going to move now to the Super Saturday in Vermont, and then we'll bring in a couple other tidbits at the end there. So, please, if you want to take that.
Yeah, Morgan, thank you for that share. I really enjoyed that, and it brought up something that we talked about. Well, we didn't. Susan Wheeler talked about at our Super Saturday about. She calls herself the marathon mindset, and it's about, you know, or really not. It's about that, but there's a piece of it about we all start at the starting line. We all start at the same place. Every single one of us that's on this, hi man, every single one of this that's on this screen or on this team all started at the same starting line. We all started as an associate, and we all have the exact same opportunity. And, you know, you pointed out how Eden and Laura Stevens hit executive within 3 months. Everybody has that same opportunity. We're all here doing the exact same thing. You plus two, them plus two. So it's really, it was really neat when Susan put it in perspective for everyone. I think a lot of people in the room were like, oh yeah, we all do start at the same spot. And, you know, it was a cool analogy about, you know, running a marathon and you see people passing you and you see yourself passing other people. You all started at the same place. It's just a matter of who wants it and who's going to persevere and who's going to stick with it to go do it. So what Josh and I wanted to pull in tonight was Monique did a beautiful job of creating a panel at the end of our Super Saturday, and she wrote a few questions down. She asked the audience a few questions too to see what people out there were struggling with or wanted to know, since they had some good leaders in the room to share with them. But there was a couple of great questions that we wanted to throw out there. Of course, Josh and I can give answers, but we thought that it would be a really great exercise to throw out a couple of these questions and get some volunteers on how you deal with these or how you would answer the question. So if you hear a question that you like and you want to speak on, please just flail your arms and then unmute yourself and start talking. So some of the ones that were valuable during the day we'll read out and ask the team here, so that so everybody can get that same value. Let me see here. What was one of the ones that was really, really cool? Well, here's one, and it actually goes in line with what Morgan was talking about. How important is it to become executive and remain paid as executive? This actually could be one that someone who has hit executive and hasn't remained paid as might want to take, or someone who has hit executive and remained paid as. If anybody wants to address that one, or even if you've never hit executive, but you know how important it is to hit and remain paid as, and what that means. And if no one volunteers, we will.
And even if you don't have to be perfect. I mean, even if you're not sure, you may want to say, I think it's because of this, and this is all a learning curve. But I think it's great to come at this from all different areas. Anybody want to guess or take a shot?
Eliza.
Yeah, Eliza.
Thank you, Eliza.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey. So I'm sorry. I'm so bummed that I didn't make it this weekend, but I was there in spirit. So it's really important, I believe, to not only set that goal to hit exec, but to stay at pay as exec. Jay and I hit it really quickly, but we have not stayed there. And I can tell you the why I believe it's important to stay at paid as exec is that not only there's a couple of reasons. One of them, from a financial standpoint, for anybody that doesn't know, this is kind of a big one. Not only do you benefit from your cycles, but any of your consultants, personally enrolled consultants, you actually benefit 10% of their cycles. So for every 5 cycles that you're personally enrolled get that week, you get 10% of that. So it does matter from a financial standpoint. Also, when you're enrolling people, those PIBs, they also go towards not only your product introductory bonuses, but towards cycles as well for you. So from a financial standpoint, you guys, I mean, it's certainly a goal of ours to try to get back to paid as exec because of the financial reasons. But I also feel as though, for me personally, it comes down to being able to support those people, and I don't ever want to say that I failed if I didn't keep a consultant, but I want to be able to feel like I can support those consultants that are under me. And, of course, I don't take it personally if it's not something that I can change, but looking at it from a team perspective, I really truly believe that, there's that sense of working together. And if I can support those people in some way, I want to be able to do everything I can to do that. And you got to let some of them go. You can't push that rope forever. But for the people that are willing, for me, that's really, really important.
Awesome.
I love it.
Very, very good, Liza.
Thank you. And
Awesome.
Thank you for being open about, falling out of paid as executive, because a lot of people don't realize that once you hit executive, that it's pretty easy to fall out and not stay there. If you've been on the road to executive, you know how hard it is just to get there. Getting everybody paid as consultant all at the same time, it's equally as hard to keep it that way. So thank you for sharing that and being open about that. We appreciate that a lot.
So another question that came from the audience was, what do you say when someone says, oh, is this one of those things? Is this one of those pyramid schemes? And I actually had the opportunity to answer that on the panel, but I want to throw that out there to any of you. What do you say when someone says to you, oh, this is one of those, things or a pyramid scheme? How do you address that? Does anybody want to volunteer and take a shot?
Vinny.
I just keep it really simple in that instance. When somebody says, is that a thing or a pyramid scheme, I just keep it really simple. And I say, you know what, guys, a pyramid scheme is illegal in this country, and I would never be involved in something illegal. If you know me well enough, I wouldn't be doing anything illegal. So that's pretty much where I leave it at. I have no need to go into the details of what a pyramid scheme actually is, because we're not one. So it doesn't really matter to me.
Good answer.
Cool.
Good answer. Anybody else want to take a shot?
Wendy.
Go
ahead, Wendy.
Hey.
You just do a show.
I just did.
How was it?
It was a good piece of humble pie.
You look real.
Thanks. Do I look like a hooker? Yeah, and one of the judges is like, you need to go bigger, go more glam, like think transvestite. I'm like, okay. Anyway, that's not what I say about pyramid scheme.
I hope not.
No. I say, oh, that's interesting. What do you know about a pyramid scheme? And same thing like Vinny, like I would follow it up with, that's definitely illegal. What do you know about it? That usually gives us a little bit more information. Most of the time people don't know. So I will say, yeah, they're illegal. It's where no goods or services are actually exchanged, but we actually do have product. And I might go into like, do you know what a real pyramid scheme is? Like, have you heard of, like schools, like corporate America, where the person at the top makes all the money? But then that's like Pandora's box, and then they start glazing over. So anyway, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you. So those are all great ways to address that. And I agree with Vinny too. Less is more. This has come up, and I like to say, you know what? Tell me what does that mean to you when you say pyramid scheme? What does that mean? And I let them, because most people actually, if you actually ask them, most people don't even know what that means. But they come out with something to the effect that the guys at the top, the people at the top make all the money. And I say to them, feel, felt, found. And for those of you that don't know feel, felt, found, you can address every single objection with feel, felt, found. Eric Worre has a great clip on YouTube. He's got several of them on objections. The one that I recommend, it's 1 hour and 22 minutes. Watch it. It's very exciting. It's very, has a lot of meat in there. But what it comes down to is that you can address any objection, whether it's financial. My mother's sister's friend did the program. It didn't work. I don't believe that this is real. Whatever their objection is, feel, felt, found. Linda, I totally know how you feel. I actually felt the same way. And what I found was when I was actually open to learning about this, I was completely wrong. And you can say this about anything. So write that down. Feel, felt, found for any objection. Someone says that about the pyramid scheme. You know what? I totally know how you feel. In fact, until I was open, I kind of thought it was something it really wasn't. Are you open to learning what I actually found out? I always end that with anything. I say, are you open? I don't ask people if they're interested. I say if they're open. Ask if they're open, because people will often say, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in making money. I'm not interested in having more time. Of course they are. But are they open, right? So if you give them an out, if you say, are you interested? There's an out. If you say, are you open? Most people are going to say that they're open. Does that make sense? So any objection that comes up, including that, just an easy way for us to address it is that feel, felt, found.
Yeah. All right. This was my favorite question. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you will raise your hand and want to answer this one. What is the number one thing that you would go back and tell yourself when you first got started that would have helped you grow even faster?
That's a good one.
Loved this question. Yeah. Anyone? Any takers?
I want to say it, read it again.
All right. What is the number one thing you would go back and tell yourself when you first got started that would have helped you grow even faster?
Can I chime in? You probably can't see me because it's dark in my car. It's Jody.
Please, Jody.
I think I would say find a way to blindfold, gag, and lock up the crazy monkeys in your head because they're just getting in your freaking way.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's
Awesome.
such a journey, isn't it? Anyone else? Because this is a great question. And what would you tell yourself, even if you're brand new and you've made a couple little things? Go ahead, JoJo.
Don't ever assume for someone else what they want, what they can spend, what they need in their life, whether or not they're going to say yes. We have that entire conversation before we ever even open our mouth to talk to somebody. And so if we just ask the question, are you open? Are you ready? Ask them where they're at and what they need. Then those conversations in our brain would never happen. But we go, oh, they don't need it or they can't afford it. And we make all these assumptions about somebody without knowing what they will actually do. So
awesome.
Silence those thoughts.
Love it. Wendy.
I would say to myself, just keep going to events. Go to as many events as possible to network, to meet, to brain pick as many people as possible.
Awesome. Great answers.
Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah.
I would probably go back and tell myself that it's okay not to know everything, because that was one of my biggest things about talking to people is that, and I still struggle with it, but I think after a meeting that I had with you, Josh, it was, it's okay. Be like, well, that's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it, but I can find out for you. So not having to know everything and not putting that pressure on myself, that's helped a lot.
Awesome.
I love that. I use an analogy a lot with people with that scenario where if you've ever started a new job, you don't know everything on day one, but you still want to do a really good job. So if a coworker comes up and says, hey, how do you do this, that, and the other thing? You could say, well, you know what? I'm brand new. I don't know, but I'm going to help you. So let's go find out together. It's the same thing. It's just that in network marketing, we get all weird and complicate stuff because we feel like we should know everything. But in actuality, we just started a brand new job and we don't know everything yet. And we aren't supposed to.
People appreciate that honesty. Appreciate it. It's attractive, I think, when you say, you know what, that's a great question. I don't know, but here, let's go find out. So I want to ask this question for someone. Oh, sorry, what?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to go. Do you want to move on?
No.
Oh,
hey, Lindsay, go right ahead.
I was going to say to ask people more questions, because I feel like I was just so excited about how great I felt that I just verbal vomited on everybody that would listen to me. And I would definitely go back and ask people more questions about why they wanted to know what I was doing, what was interesting to them, because I feel like I just talked at people and then waited for them to talk back at me. But Wendy's really good at this, asking lots of inquisitive questions and seeing how people react and then speaking. I'm definitely learning now to do that, but the first 6 months was a train wreck.
Every master was once a disaster,
Yeah.
right?
Can I say something?
Yeah, jump in.
I have to agree with Lindsay. I still am very nervous and would shut down if people say things and I wasn't sure what to say, but that would be exactly what I would do, is ask more questions. Ask.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Great feedback. Anybody else? Paul. Blue eyes.
Yeah. One thing, just to piggyback on Lindsay's thing is, I think we all do that at the beginning, but you have to let the conversation unfold. Say something and then let your prospect, ask you a question, talk back to you. You want to you have that instinct to dump that whole conversation all at once. Just really, bite your tongue, bite the inside of your cheek, whatever you have to do, but you have to leave stuff for the conversation. and what you really want to say, you'll have that opportunity. It'll come. You just got to let it happen naturally.
Right. And also, doesn't it allow us to address their goals when we ask all those questions and now we know what they want? Instead of me presenting something and I paint a picture that I think I want to show them or I want them to buy, right? They're telling me what their goal is if I ask all the questions. And now my presentation is all about delivering their goal. And if we don't ask all those questions, we never get there. And I've been guilty of that many, many times. So that was a huge learning curve for me, to do that and really spend a long time in their heads and their goals and emotions.
I just want to point out too that even though we would go back and tell ourselves something to do differently, this has all been a journey and we've all learned along the way, and it was super valuable, everything that we have gone through, and it got us to where we are today. So and if you're newish to the team, you're benefiting from all the mistakes we've made and learned from because we don't teach those things anymore. So it's all part of the journey, and it's beautiful no matter what, because no matter what, we've always all been out here sharing this beautiful gift and giving this on to other people. So whether we threw up on someone or we did it perfectly, we still shared the gift. So
Next question. What advice would you give a brand new person? I love this question. And we've talked about this before, and there's so much knowledge on here. So let's dive into this. Someone maybe wasn't spoken yet. Who wants to volunteer? And hey, Kevin, go right ahead, my friend.
You have to unmute yourself, Kevin, please.
You're muted still.
Let me try to unmute. Still talking. There you go.
So as a brand new person, I could tell you last week I learned something that I found really useful, and it's somebody said, to be successful, you have to be more interested than interesting. And that message is to be interested in the other person, instead of spending all the time trying to prove how interesting you might be about this subject or any other subject. So I've been applying that all week, and it's been very humbling and also very useful.
Love it.
Love that.
What a great piece of advice. That's huge.
Oh, that's my message.
Awesome.
New guy shouldn't talk a lot. All right.
Thank you. Who else wants to dive in? Anybody? Jojo.
Never, ever, 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 ever quit. Because you have no idea today where you can possibly be tomorrow. And I had that experience of feeling like I wanted to quit. And when I didn't, had I quit at that point, I would have never known what could have happened. You just can't see around the bend. We get that short feeling of disappointment or discouragement, and, whatever happens, and it takes us down a notch. So never, ever, ever quit. And there's a ton of people here that you can plug into that will just blow belief into you and build you up so you can float, because that's what we're all here to do. So that is the biggest thing ever, that no matter what, don't ever quit.
Amen. I have one that I'm going to volunteer. My piece of advice for the brand new person would be never, ever, ever. How many never evers did you say, Jojo? Because I want to say one more than that. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, never, ever, ever, ever. Compare yourself forever. Compare yourself to anyone. It is the kiss of death. And I'll never forget, Zach Slobin was talking about this on stage. You're going to compare yourself to someone who rocketed to $100,000 in 9 months, or you're going to compare yourself to someone who did, $250,000 in 3 years, or all these rock stars. But the thing is, you don't know their journey before. You're giving them an unrealistic starting point to where you think that comparison should take place, and it's unreal, because what set you up for right now is from birth. What you went through from school and your upbringing and experiences and everything that you absorbed through life put you in this place. And so to compare yourself to someone else who did something a little quicker, maybe at a higher level, it's unfair. And it will suck the energy and the life out of you. And I don't know if anybody is ever immune to it. You can appreciate it, know it's there, and just push it aside. But because if we keep focusing on it, it'll stop us. It stops us from expressing, how great we really are. So we got to get rid of that comparison. Get rid of the comparison, and know you're on that journey. Like Jojo said, never quit, and you will get there. We all will get there, no question. Wendy.
Just to piggyback on that, and that's that lesson that you just were talking about. I had to remind myself over and over again today. It was so easy to look around the room and say, man, these women look amazing, or her butt looks bigger than mine, and her makeup's better, whatever. But it's as soon as I get into the comparison mode, then my confidence level goes down, and then it shows on stage, and that's what the judges see. So what I would say to a new person, and something that I've always reminded myself of, was just inspire yourself. Keep on inspiring yourself. It doesn't matter. You can't spend all this time, I'm talking to myself, worrying about inspiring other people. Just inspire the heck out of yourself. You're the number one person. And I really love the whole idea about being a transformational leader, where the only person that you're required to inspire is yourself. And in the process, you're inspiring other people.
Awesome. So great, Wendy. So great.
Josh, can I say one thing quick?
Hey, jump in.
Sorry. So as someone who has recently experienced this, I wasn't necessarily new when it happened, but being really overwhelmed as a new person can definitely feel the same as how I felt a couple months ago. But because I felt overwhelmed, I decided to sort of take a little bit of a break and work on myself, and get into better, planning with myself. And what I learned by unplugging from the team is that it actually did the opposite for me. And what Jojo said just really reminded me about the importance of staying plugged in and tuned in, so that people can pour belief in you and help you figure out how to prioritize calls and personal growth, and what to pay attention to when you're new, because it can be really overwhelming and you can just want to shut down. But I think it's really important to stay plugged into 3 core values and continue pushing, because if you just shut down like I did, I actually noticed a negative effect in the opposite way of what I was trying to do. And now that I'm starting to plug back in and make my priority list and reach out to people for support, I'm noticing that I'm instantly feeling better and better about even the small amounts of business that I am trying to plug into. So I just think it's hugely important to, when you do feel overwhelmed with the information that's given to you as a new person, to touch base with one person and get help making priorities for yourself, because unplugging is not the way to go.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Lindsay. Thank you.
I agree, Lindsay.
Cindy.
Hey there. I
Hey.
have one based on my own experience. Is for a new person, I would definitely have them work on their belief in themselves first. We know that you have to have belief in the company and belief in the product and belief in the compensation plan. But if you're lacking in belief in yourself, the rest of it is going to fall short. So I would encourage them to make that a huge priority and work on themselves first.
Huge. One of the most important areas. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. I think this kind of is a great segue into another awesome question Monique had, is how do you motivate your team? And I think this is so important from day one, when you've only enrolled one person, until the end all be all of your business and you have a team of multiple thousands of people. Motivating team members is a huge deal. And I think people ask this question a lot. I think there's a huge frustration piece here, where people who have teams, whether it be one person or thousands, can go into that frustration mode where they really want their team to be doing something, but certain members don't want to do something, and they feel ownership on their lack of motivation. And so Josh has a wonderful answer to this, but I want to also put it out there and see who has something that they've done to help motivate their team, or maybe even if you're struggling with this right now, if you want to speak up and let us know and let the team help.
Anybody? Katya.
Okay, so what I found out this weekend, my sound horrible, Jojo? No?
You good?
I'm good. Jojo makes a face like she's okay.
He just does that.
So we went on this little trip last weekend for the training and to tag on that extra day, and there were 4 of us. And one of them was my personally involved, and the other 2 are further down in my downline. But what really, I think, helps me now is that we had some time for them to share their goals, why they decided to join Isogenic. So now that's something that we can talk about when we set goals for them. And when things go rough, I can say, hey, Morgan, remember what we talked about when we were in Oceanside? This is why you want to do this. Mm-hmm. And the same goes for Aaron. Aaron has some really lofty goals. And I'm like, now that I know that we took the time to share and I know what they're going after, it puts me in a better position to help them stay on track and keep through with that. So just really taking the time to talk to the people that are willing to work for it, whether they're your personal involvement or they're 3, 4, 5 levels down. Find the ones that are willing to commit to something, and then just find out why they're doing this, why they want to do this, so that you can put this back in front of them when times get rough a little bit.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love it. Thank you, Katya. Jojo, did you have your hand up before or no? Did someone else?
She was just making nasty faces at people.
Cindy, go right ahead, Cindy.
Piggybacking off of what Wendy said before about inspiration, I actually, and when Jen Murgatroyd said this too, I don't think you can actually motivate people. I think motivation comes from within. I think you can, like what Wendy was saying, inspire yourself to the best that you can, because by inspiring yourself, you give other people permission to inspire themselves. So I think motivation comes from, you know, your desire to do this, whatever, you know, whatever you want to make of this, however you want to build this. I feel like your motivation is your motivation. I don't know that people can actually, like, you can be motivated by contests and things like that, depending on what kind of a person you are. But I think more inspiration, giving people permission to inspire themselves, might create motivation for themselves, if that makes sense.
Totally does. Totally does. Who else wants to volunteer?
I will.
So, okay, go ahead, Jojo.
So to do the new associate interview when somebody first comes in, and there's one that the company provides that works really great. If you don't like that one, then create a few questions of your own that help you to understand, to ask them the questions of what they're really looking for. And then ask the permission of when you are unplugging and when you are not answering my text messages, and when do you want me to leave you alone? Or do you want me to remind you why you wanted this? Do you want me to remind you the feeling that you have right now? And when you get those agreements up front, then you can circle back, because you know when somebody's not plugging in. You know when somebody disappears, they're not answering, they're not responding. You can tell. And so when you already have those agreements set up, then you can circle back on that and have that conversation again. Perhaps things have changed for them, but then at least it lets you know where they stand, and you don't feel like you're dragging somebody through the mud. Do you want people to run with you? There's nothing more uncomfortable than feeling like you have 20 people on your back and you're trying to pull them all through the mud. So nobody wants to do that. It helps both sides, not just them. It also helps you.
Remember Eric Worre spinning the plates? He's got 7 hands going up, spinning the plate, spinning the plate. Absolutely. Thank you, JoJo. Beautiful.
I think one of the things that Josh and I have learned along the way too is, first and foremost, you can't push a rope. You can pull it sometimes, but you can never push a rope. And if you want your team to do something and they're just not doing it, you can't make anyone do anything. Like Cindy said, motivation comes from within. Motivation comes from being inspired to move. And a lot of us are inspired by other people out there doing what we want to do. And within your own team, you as a leader are very inspirational leaders, because what you do is what's going to inspire your team to be motivated. They know you, they like you, they trust you. If they say you do it, they're not going to compare themselves to you and say, oh, I'm going to quit, I'm not going to do it. They're going to say, I know her. If she can do it, I can do it. I know him. If he can do it, I can do it. Whereas people outside of our team or your team, we can see them as other leaders in Isogenics to go, yeah, but they're really, all that. So that's not very inspirational or motivational for me because I don't really relate to that. But within your own realm, you have a duty to inspire your team, and that's what motivates. It is about, showing up and doing the do and getting the ranks. Not all leaders really love the titles and the rank advancements, but they do it anyway because it inspires their team. And that is a big deal in helping to motivate your team. Go ahead, Wendy.
To give you an example of that, and Lindsay Lamont said sometimes inspiration comes from watching others handle the crap too, especially ones you look up to. I just wanted to say that watching you, Lisa, do your first fitness competition, I was like, when I went to my first celebration 3 years ago and I saw all these hot bodies go across the stage, I was like, oh my gosh, jaw dropping, but I would never do that. And then I saw you do it and I was like, oh my gosh, if she did it, that's awesome. I know her. That's cool. And then I see Lindsay Ascioli. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Your last name, I apologize. But I saw you do it. I was like, she looks amazing. If Lisa did it and Lindsay did it, why not me? And look at me now. I'm freaking pro. I never would have thought of that. So I'm just saying, it's like, and neither one of you told me to do it. I just watched you do it and I asked you questions, and yeah, blows me away. Thank you. Thank you to you too.
Well, thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Raise your hand if you're a leader. Anybody on this call, if you're a leader, raise your hand. I want to see the hands. If you've enrolled one person, you're a leader. And this is how I truly believe that we motivate, is that, like all of you just said before, we can't push a rope. We can't make someone do something. I believe example sets the tone. No matter what, if you keep doing what you know, and like JoJo said, you never quit and you keep doing the do, you keep doing the do, you keep doing the do, the right people will begin to do the do. The people that aren't meant to do that. So part of our struggle is, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing this? And then we had some great advice from someone one time. He's like, why are you looking at that? Look in front of you and not behind you. And you keep doing what you know is right. And that is the best form of motivation, because we all need mentors. And so when you have your mentor, the person you look up to, watch them. I want to walk like them. I want to talk like them. I want to do what they do.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. I want to be like you. Ooh. I'm sorry. Everybody's singing it.
So those mentors are the people that are doing it, and they never, ever give up, and they keep doing it over and over again. So I think I think this is a pretty good call. What do y'all think? Was it valuable? Was it good? I love the interaction. I really do.
Great questions, Monique. There's 17 of them. We can have 3 more calls.
Monique, awesome. Let's let's open up the floor for anything business-wise that anybody wants to talk about.
Go ahead,
Monique. Yeah, chime in here. Chime in.
Well, I just wanted to, there's two really big things from this weekend that I came home with. I slept so much today. I was so exhausted. But Susan, when she talks about her marathon mindset, she gave the story where she was running and she was telling herself, like, I'm miserable. And she was kind of in the back. And then she's like, no, I'm marvelous. I'm magnificent. She started changing the M's. And she noticed that there was a guy ahead of her who she had been trying to catch, and he was doing so well. And she got in front of him and she saw him fall out. And that it must have got to him that she was so far behind, and then she passed him and she kind of gave up. So it goes along with the whole comparison of I have personally always compared myself to people, and I think right there I kind of was like, yeah, that's ridiculous. That makes no sense to do that, because I am where I am and you are where you are. I'm not going to be where you are at the same time ever. And the drunk monkeys, just taking them out of your head. And the second one was that I guess I held back from sharing my story a lot because it's not, in the way that I view it, it's not a miraculous, marvelous, super inspiring story. But I realized that it's a normal story. It's something that is super relatable, that it might not make people cry, and that's okay. But it's going to make people be like, holy crap, I was that. That was me. I was that tired, exhausted, depressed mom who hated getting out of bed, who hated getting on the floor playing with their kids. But I can be that mom that likes playing with their kids, that wakes up happy in the morning. So I think I've kind of not given up hope that people will cry at my story, but I've kind of I'm okay that my story's not falling off a balcony and shattering my entire body and getting back up. And there are those great inspiring stories, but that mine's just as great too.
Oh, you're just so great.
Absolutely.
I totally resonated with your story, Monique.
Great.
A lot of moms do. And most moms don't talk about it. So keep singing that story, please.
Any other questions? Any other business questions before we wrap up our weekly team meeting? Jody Langelotti.
Hey, not so much a business question, but just a couple of things I wanted to add that I wasn't really able to because I had horrible reception. But first, I wanted to really do a shout out to Tim Beliveau and Vicki Wilson and Megan Casper for joining me on the road trip to come up to the Super Saturday. And we had 2 hours and 20 minutes of amazing business-related conversation on the way home. There were such great takeaways, and that was just so cool to be a part of. So really proud of them for that was Tim's second event, and it was Vicki and Megan's first. So taking that day and coming out, it was just really cool to be a part of that. So that was awesome. And obviously, Monique, fantastic job with your Super Saturday. Hold on one second, honey. Sorry, she should have been in bed like an hour and a half ago, but that's okay. So the takeaway I wanted, Sid, give me 1 second. The one takeaway I wanted to add, Susan Wheeler, was that she talked about a piece of gum, right? You ask somebody for a piece of gum, and you say like, hey, Jojo, would you like a piece of gum? And Jojo says, no. Do you go home and cry? Do you go home and tell your husband or your wife? Do you freak out? Do you lose your mind? Do you think it means that you're a horrible person and terrible at what you do? Do you think it means that you don't deserve? No, it's a piece of gum. And so even though what we're talking to people about is so much more valuable than a piece of gum, it is a piece of gum, because until that person makes that connection, until they're open to making that connection to what this can do for them, it is basically a piece of gum. And so that really kind of spoke to me, and I really liked that analogy that we need to just shut up the crazy monkeys. It's a piece of gum, and if they say no, it's no big deal. Move on.
Also, Jody, to add to that, the fact that with the gum, that Susan is where she is now, but she started with eye cream. Like, that to me was like, okay.
That was great.
That was awesome.
That was great. All right. Any last minute announcements?
Sarah wants to talk.
Who does?
Sarah, go ahead.
Sarah.
No, I was just going to add to that same analogy because it really spoke to me as well. That like, and continuing to be there for those people that say no, because it really just means not yet. Because when they're ready for that piece of gum, they're going to come see you to get that piece of gum. So being there for those people so that when they're ready to make a change in their life, they're going to come to you.
Perfect.
Great way to wrap this up. Absolutely. All right. We got to end the meeting tonight. This is so good. I know we can go on and on and on. Any announcements that anybody wants to bring up real quick? Anything coming up? Any urgent notifications for anybody or everybody?
I have something. I don't have specific dates, but isogenicsevents.com. Go on there, look and see if there's any associate run events in your area, if there's any corporate run events in your area coming up. Events are super, super, super important, whether they're small, whether they're big. And it is not just the event. It is the drive home. It is the flight to. It is the powwows. It's the side chats that you can do with your teammates. It's the relationships you're building with your teammates. It's the recharging of the batteries. It's getting out of the funk. It's getting out of your house. It's getting yourself back in that swing of things. So whether or not you have something on your horizon, of course, New Year kickoff is coming, but go on Isogenics events and look. There's always associate run events popping up there, and they could be closer than you think to you. Or if they're not that far, or a little road trip, ask some people in your team, say, hey, who wants to do a road trip? Let's go to this one. And let's go recharge, because events will really, really, really light that fire again, if not give you a little takeaway that, could change your business because you weren't thinking of that before.
Awesome, guys. Morgan, Miss Morgan, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, actually, Claudia just typed it, so that made it easier. But we started 4 sip-in samples on our car ride home. We planned them out, and we've done 2 of them already, and we have 2 more to go. So if you know anybody in Vegas that wants to come to a sip-in sample, just let me know.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right.
Really, gosh, sorry. I am hosting a 5-day Facebook Live challenge. If anybody's interested, get a hold of me and I will get you the hashtags that we're doing so everybody can kind of comment on each other's and boost the posts and stuff.
Awesome. 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 And there's a Super Saturday this Saturday in DC. And Anna is going with her teammates. Woo!
Yes.
All right.
And Sarah
Let's
and
try to
Inga
get
and
there.
Anna are going to be doing one in Virginia this month. I think
Nice.
November 18th. So for sure, if you're in the areas with any of your teammates that are doing some events, be there, support them, make it if you can.
Absolutely. Every Sunday night, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, get your team on here. Brand new people, bring them on, invite them on. We are growing massively by leaps and bounds, and educating our team is the most important thing. So bring them on, get them on. We'll see you guys next week. Love everybody. Keep
Thanks,
doing what
everybody.
you're doing. Have a great week. Let's get some butt. Peace.